Welcome back to LPN Online, crime fighters. We're reporting, as usual, from the front lines of the war on crime. Caroline Dunn and I today are going to discuss a couple of issues.
Many of you know, every Sunday, Officer Dawn hosts the radio show In Touch along with Ray, the DA. And last week, our roving reporter, Blarina Goiani, had the opportunity to ask him a couple questions.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm here today in studio with Officer Dawn. Hi, Officer Dawn.
Hello, Marina. How are you?
Fine, thanks. And thank you for being with us today. How long have you been an officer?
Well, I was a police officer for 21 years. I retired about 3 months ago. And I worked, on patrol. I worked as a detective for about 8 or 9 years of my career. And then the last part of my career, I was a pilot for Air Support Unit.
Interesting. Can we talk about your most interesting cases that you had on your past?
Well, probably one of the most memorable as a detective, I worked in the Personal Crimes Unit, Robbery Homicide Unit. And there was a victim, a girl named Jean Fiola, who lived, I think, over in the Buckhorn area. And I got a call one night that someone had been assaulted. And I get there, and I go see her in the hospital first, and she was laying in the hospital, but I'll never forget, she had a butcher knife that was stuck in her neck. Wow. All I could see was the handle of the knife, and then every time her heart beat, you could see the handle move. It was one of the most disturbing things I had ever seen, even working in the homicide unit, for a couple of years prior to that. And it's one of those things that just sort of, as a cop and as a person, sort of pisses you off, because you just wonder what kind of animal would do something like this to this girl. She was in her bed asleep, and this guy comes in through her bedroom window. He cuts the screen, comes in through her bedroom window. She wakes up. He's on top of her, telling her he's going to rape her and to be quiet. And she fought him. She had 2 kids in the next room. She had a lot to fight for and was able to fight him off. Well, before he left, he stabbed her. And then out the window. But she saved her kids, and that was the main thing she wanted to do, because she knew that if something happened to her, God knows what was going to happen to the children. And so wound up getting involved in that investigation, and he turned out to be someone who lived in the neighborhood, a guy by the name of Michael Guy, and he had raped before, and in fact he was out on bail where he was involved in another sex crime in Woodford County, waiting to be sentenced, and for whatever reason they let him out on bail, right? So we had DNA evidence that we needed to get. We gathered it up. It took a while, but finally it came back. It was him, and I found much pleasure in putting him behind bars and being involved in that, and bringing some justice to Jean. She survived. It's just a wonderful woman, wonderful person, and has done a lot to show me what real strength is, to go through something like that. But I'll never forget Jean, and I'll never forget that case.
Thanks, Blarina. She does a good job.
She's great.
Well, she also had an opportunity to talk to Mary Houlihan, who's the director of our victim services, at the Innocent Victims of Crime Monument outside the old Fayette County Courthouse. This is an important issue for us, victims. Most of those people are involuntary participants in this criminal justice system we have, and we never want to forget them. And as a result, this monument has been created, and Mary Houlihan talked to Blarina about that. So Blarina, to you.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm Blarina Goiani. I'm here today in front of the Crime Victims Memorial in Lexington, Kentucky. With me today is Director of Victim Services, Mary Lynn Houlihan. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Blarina.
Thanks for being here with us today.
Sure.
Can you tell us more about this memorial?
This memorial was erected in 1991 to support crime victims' rights and to let crime victims know that there's a constant reminder of our efforts on their behalf. It was a joint effort between the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the Lexington Fayette Urban County government, and it stands here in front of the old courthouse to just remind passersby that crime victims' rights are an effort that we're all engaged with. we have added over the years a memorial garden. It's looking a little shabby right now because the spring flowers have already bloomed, but one of the things that we're here to do today is to add some other flowers and plants that will come up throughout the summer so that we can keep this as a always growing reminder, living reminder of the victims that have been lost to murder, the victims that have suffered other crimes, and the victims that we're constantly thinking about in our efforts to address crime in our community.
Will you tell us more about this garden, Mary?
Sure. Over the years, we've had different children in the community, volunteers, children of our employees come out and do the actual planting with us. Last year's the first year that we, instead of replacing it with annual flowers every year, we put bulbs in to have perennial blooms come up in honor of crime victims. As you can see, we're wilting now because all the spring flowers are going. It's past their time, but we're taking these down to clean up the garden a bit and then add some other flowers that will come up throughout the summer and hopefully take us into fall.
Okay, I would like to give you a hand, Mary. Back to you, Caroline.
You know, something interesting that happened. I was talking to Tom, one of the owners of Della's Diner down here on the corner, one of our neighbors here.
One of my favorites.
Right. But Tom reminded me that Della, the person whose name is on their diner there, was his grandmother, and she was the victim of a murder.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he asked if he could sponsor all of the plantings in front of the victim's monument, which is, I think, a good idea.
That's very nice.
And so we're going to do that, and we'll put a little sign up in memory of his grandmother. So, any rate, that's our report for this week on LPN Online. We'll see you next week, and as Caroline and I climb back in the foxhole on the front lines of the war on crime. Got it?
See you next time, crime fighters.